And now, please welcome to the stage, from CSPM, Eric Carter.
All right. Hey, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for coming in. Even if it's just to take a break, I appreciate that. A few of you I recognize from coming through our booth over there on the far side. Real quick, and by the way, I'm hoping to keep this whole thing relatively quick. I am Eric Carter. I'm a part of the product marketing team at CSPM, which means I write, talk, and do a lot of things surrounding solutions, of course, CSPM related, but also my job is to do that together with partners like Google Cloud, Mandiant, and so on. And so for today, I want to talk about this concept of active cloud risk and give you a bit of perspective, at least from CSPM's point of view. I'm trying not to make it a product pitch, although you'll certainly hear how we all fit together at the end. Really about how to combat the most critical threats. And there are a lot of them out there. If for anyone that was in the day one keynote with Kevin Mandia, spot on a lot of the things that he was saying. I'll probably refer to some of his comments throughout the session here. So again, thanks for joining. Anyone walking by who wants to join us, please walk on in. We'd be glad to have you. Okay, let's get started and push in. Statistics that won't surprise any of you. One of these is from a Thales report, I think recently, and one from IBM, looked at most companies have experienced some sort of cloud breach. If you haven't, maybe you're not in the cloud is kind of the point. That we know that people are constantly attacking all day long. In fact, we put honeypots out there just to see the kind of things that they're doing from CSPM's perspective. Some of what I'll talk about on this particular slide is some insight from our threat research team. I happen to be wearing their shirt today. And what's more concerning is that 80% of those breaches have something to do with getting at data stored in the cloud. At the end of the day, that's what we're really concerned about. Even more so today as we're doing more things like AI and training with data that's key and critical to us, especially if we're doing it in the cloud. These 4 blocks that you see on the screen are threats discovered by CSPM. And of course, Mandiant does a lot of this, and many of your organizations might do some of this, and we've named them. And a lot of these are named. I don't know why we pick color and sea animal. I know that for a long time, Kraken has been our mascot, so I think it has something to do with that. But net is there's a lot of stuff going on. Sometimes it's maybe less nefarious, not about getting your data and doing something bad with it, but just trying to get in and use your resources that you're paying for to do things like crypto mining. And so we talk a lot about crypto jacking and so on and so forth. Other times we're trying to get in and figure out how many cloud account permissions or access keys we can get so that we can go sell them on the black market. And there are folks doing this every single day, and some of these we've discovered have to do with them trying to use even less popular cloud services to actually run, like serverless platforms, for instance. A lot of times we expect to just find them trying to get to a standard VM or instance in the cloud, but they're doing clever things like putting things into containers with the hopes that your developers or DevOps folks are going to grab this container, use it, thinking it's perfectly fine, because it's something that, of course, everyone's using this Nginx container, whatnot. Sorry, Nginx. There's nothing wrong with you, I swear. But there can often be things in there that you're not aware that then are used to kind of break out lateral movement, all the things that we've talked about this week at this event. So net is it's challenging. One of these threats, Scarlet Eel, and this is what I want to lean into active risk and thinking more about how fast can we respond, is that Scarlet Eel was one of these. It was really using some of these obscure services, and it took minutes. So that's 3 minutes, 42 seconds to execute. The average cloud attack around 10 minutes, right? And in 10 minutes or less, essentially, what we're saying is the damage can be done. So if we are in a mode where we can't see things that quickly, we might be in a bit of trouble. Dwell time, a lot of times they were with this getting into the account and just living there happily for at least 16 days, right? And all we're saying for this last point is, especially in this year, I guess, maybe it was the end of last year, when something bad happens, we now have the responsibility to report that bad thing within 4 days of us discovering it. That's a hard exercise to do, but we want to be able to do it and to do it adequately to protect our clients, our data, and so on. So when we think about this, again, a lot of what Kevin Mandy was talking about, bad guys are good at cloud. One of the things that I've never used, but I'm going to start using it, is that when our organizations develop code, we do a lot of testing, make sure it works right, bugs, things like that. Bad guys don't. They're going to write something and go ahead and execute it, right? So they're using a lot of the same cloud tools that we're using, scripting attacks, abusing things like infrastructure as code, Terraform, which was involved in this Scarlet Eel attack, and human errors. Oops, I did not set this configuration correctly, and they figure it out quickly, use that to infiltrate the account, and it can be as little as 10 minutes from the time we've got the credential, figuring out what to do, and then boom, grabbing what they want to grab. So it's good and bad, and this is getting worse with things like Gen AI, that cloud tools, the cloud speed, which we all love in many ways because we move faster as a business, it's being weaponized, automated, and that means we have to be faster in order to stay ahead of what I like to call the bad guys. Okay, so here's part of the storytelling or the challenge, right? Once upon a time, and remember the old days, I'm a little bit older, so I can remember these days where, we ran our own stuff and there was a perimeter, and mostly it was private, and there was a firewall, and when we knew when someone was trying to get through that, as long as we were guarding that appropriately, we'd be good. Someone gets through it, we can detect that intrusion. That's our breach indicator, right? Like our castle with our front door and our moat and so on. But in the cloud, it's a little bit more like an amusement park with a lot of different entrances. Again, hearkening back to what Kevin said, we're all working. There is not really an office in the same way because we're all working from all over the place, right? So we're all coming in through these external connections, most of which are managed by the cloud. Of course, we can set the right permissions and so on, but it's exposed to the outside world. And it's different. It's just different than it was before. You, us, we all need to control that access in an appropriate way. So a big thing, of course, with any kind of cloud usage is making sure we have the right identity access management controls in place, because that is key, and monitoring those things and making sure we're not giving too much to our people is important, right? Because that's key in this new amusement park world of the cloud, right? And the thing about it is, if there are many ways to get in, then it's less about monitoring who's coming in and out of the door, but what's actually going on the inside, right? And that's what becomes key. And by the way, these are AI-generated images, just so you know. AI is amazing. A security camera, this is the point, is as important as a good lock. Not to say that a good lock on your front door isn't important. Think about that as more of your posture controls. I want to know that my configurations are set correctly. My storage buckets are not set to public accidentally. And so that's important, but they may fail because there's lots of ways in. So we want to be able to have a much more real-time eye on our environment, looking around all of the cloud services we're using. Could be, how many folks using things like containers or in your organization? Kubernetes containers might just be cloud services, could be serverless types of approaches and whatnot. So we want to be watching all those things because someone may have come in and even looks like a valid user, but the things that they're doing are a little bit unusual, right? So we want to know that these are the things going on. So the way we start to look at the world is a mixture of static risk and active risk. And static risk, we can think about, that's the things like making sure that we are watching out for misconfigurations, fixing it before anything bad happens. It's a risk, but until someone actually abuses it, let's be cautious, but I'm not gonna suddenly have my house on fire because of this, right? Maybe their workload is exposed to the internet. We need to be exposed to the internet, many things, for sure, but we wanna know it, and we wanna make sure we have the right, again, we're going through the right ports, whatever, right permissions and so on. And overly privileged users, that's key. These are things to be cautious about. These are things to fix. Fix them, prevention, right? It's key. Active risk, and why I put danger at the bottom, is because this is going on right now. And how do we know? How can we know what's going on? That's that image of the security camera that I want you all to think about, right? So is there real-time anomalous activity? Anomalous, right? Anyone who doesn't, of course you know that word, but it's weird stuff going on, bad stuff going on, not usual, unexpected stuff going on. It could be things like suspicious user logins. I like this phrase we've been using lately at SysTig, impossible travel scenarios. So one of the things that we've implemented is to see if you've logged in from Denver and suddenly you're logging in from Frankfurt, Germany, that in seconds or minutes, right? That's not really feasible, right? So there's something amiss here. So we want to be monitoring for these things. Or maybe when we think about posture, we're often thinking about, is the configuration right? But what if that suddenly flips for some reason? Flips to the configuration that puts you at risk. Don't you want to know about that quickly as opposed to even waiting till the next scan, maybe the next day? And even things like in-use vulnerabilities. How many folks deal in the world of CVEs or trying to fix things? I guess I got it all. Yeah, I mean, if not you, then someone in the org, right? We're constantly trying to put our best foot forward, knock them down. Every day there are many, many reported. And so something we thought was perfectly fine yesterday when we roll it into production might have something going on today. Oftentimes when I think about this point, in-use vulnerabilities, it's around the world of containers where it has this sort of self-contained thing that can run anywhere that has whatever it needs for dependencies. Oftentimes there's more in there than you actually need to run your application. So what if you could surely scan for what's wrong or what needs to be fixed or known vulnerabilities, but then identify if there are 50 of them, I would rather not have to fix 50. What if only 5 or 10 of them were actually running your application? And you could see that, sort that, prioritize it that way. Fixing 10 is much better than fixing 50, I'll tell you that. So we want to be able to monitor for these kinds of active risks. And one of the things that we're seeing, we talk to some folks, they say, well, we do all the preventative stuff, but we're not doing a great job at watching all of the activity going on in the environment. And some of them, it's either A, because they just started with prevention. Like when we get to the cloud, we want to do that. We want to know that we've set up right, we have our posture in place. But then we do and should move into a more active monitoring of the environment. Now, one of the key things, and I'm going to contrast this here, and this is not about throwing any particular tools under the proverbial bus, but some of the tools in the marketplace, they will help you here, but they are helping you on a less than real-time basis. And what I mean is the way that they'll do it is in the cloud, they will grab a snapshot, and they'll do that periodically because snapshots are typically periodic. Let's say we were doing that, I don't know, every hour, which is common for some tooling, or even if, as quickly as 15 minutes. When there is this delay, there can be visibility gaps. And what's wrong with that? Well, the wrong with that is even if I could see it in my next snapshot, if these are happening 15 minutes apart, I'll take you back to the beginning. If in 10 minutes, somebody bad can do something bad in my environment, I don't want to wait 15 minutes. One of the joint customers we have with Google Cloud chose the SysTig approach for that on purpose because they said, I can't let someone be in my environment undetected for that long. And so this is where, yes, you can miss dynamic changes. Now, some organizations may not be able to react this quickly, but it should be everyone's goal to get faster and faster and faster at understanding what's going on, what's changing in the environment that is, if not an actual risk, an imminent risk, right? And these are things like, hey, somebody's exploiting a misconfiguration. I'm not going to see it until the next time I look at a snapshot. Or someone's just logging in without MFA, and I want to know about that. That's going to happen. Or worse, there's malicious code being ran. It gets to run for several minutes, if not more, before I can actually see that it happened. I would prefer not to live this way. And so what I'm advocating for, regardless of the tooling that you use, is to move much more to a real time, something that's more like a streaming detection. How SysTig achieves this is via our engine, which is something built on open source. There's an open source project called Falco. Once upon a time, it was created by SysTig, but it now lives in the community, in the CNCF, along with Kubernetes and Prometheus and those kind of things. And net is its job is to watch in real time and to look for, and you can set up what you want to look for at a fine grain level and very flexible from that standpoint, but it's watching as things stream through. When something bad happens, within seconds, you will get an alert on it. That's going to enable us to see that exploit misconfiguration, the login, the malicious code, seconds from when it's happening as opposed to minutes or an hour or whatever that might be. We want to try and narrow that visibility gap if we can, right? And it takes a bit to get there, but you can get there because this is what is going to help us stay ahead of attackers, especially as they start to leverage more and more cloud automation, more and more AI to help them get there fast. All right, a couple more slides and then we'll be done. One of the things that we have created at Sysdig on purpose to try and push you all toward this idea of doing things faster is what we call the 555 benchmark. You can read more about it at this link, but think about it like this. If I can detect instantly and get an alert within seconds, then if I have a team who is able, have the right information, that's important too. Some of you may get it from log files and other things. Sysdig, we try to get it right in front of you. Spend some amount of minutes correlating, figuring out the what, right? The what, the who, and whatnot. And then spending some amount of minutes responding. That could be killing a process, a container. That could be shutting down someone's access. It could be a number of things, and you may use a various number of tools in order to get there, including things like the SOAR platform that a lot of us have been here experiencing from Google SecOps. So we want to be able, this is the challenge. I'm not saying it's easy, but to detect quickly in seconds, to spend some time understanding it, but not long, spend some time responding to it, but not long, and get ahead of the threats in the cloud because they do move faster than ever before. And that is certainly part of what you'll see from all the different threat reports that are going on out there. So the 555 benchmark is to help the industry start to think about what does it take to stay ahead in the cloud for cloud security. And one of the things that we do at Sysdig is try to do that real-time detection, and correlate multiple signals. It could be a correlation of a real-time event with a vulnerability that's out there and a misconfiguration, and to help bubble that up for you. It could be across workloads. Identities are super, super important here, and in any cloud activity. So if we can be monitoring all those things faster than trying to figure it out every hour, we'll be in much better shape in terms of meeting that benchmark. Part of how this recipe then looks, and this will, well, I have one more slide after this. One of the things at Sysdig, we try to have multiple areas where we can do this. Data sources, yes, that are in the cloud, whether it's container-oriented, whether it's cloud logs, those kind of things. It could be just servers in the cloud or even on-prem for us. It could be the things that you're using to authenticate. We're big Okta users at Sysdig. Interrogating those logs for the bad things or the signals that tell us somebody's trying to do something here. And then, of course, all the cloud services. We are a multi-cloud solution. We love Google Cloud, you know, just to say it. And then once we determine those things, what we do find is that gathering all of that together in something like formerly known as Chronicle, Google SecOps, to get that with all other signals, even not Sysdig signals, and then to be able to build workflows. If any of you haven't seen the SOAR part, the response part, you can build these really cool workflows. Some of them might be as simple as opening a Jira ticket, but other things can be automated so that Sysdig can become sort of that real-time intel that you can see, but also can be fed into your SIEM and SOAR workflows to make that work for you, even hopefully in some cases pull some of the human out of that. And of course, who comes alongside that? Our Mandiant friends who can help you manage all of that. And Cloud Detection and Response, CDR, it's sort of your newer acronym, and we all know EDR. That's morphed into XDR. Well, Cloud Detection and Response, CDR is really all about cloud specifically. And so again, our challenge to you is no matter what tooling you're using, to look at how you get ahead, how you get alerts faster, how you respond quickly in the cloud. So my last message here, and happy to take questions afterwards down on the floor, stay safe out there. It can make a huge difference to know within seconds versus knowing within minutes or hours, right? Strive to achieve the benchmark, keep ahead of those bad guys. And look, there are best of breed tooling. We believe Sysdig's one. We know that Google has those as well, and that can help you stay ahead. That's it. That's my message. Thank you all for sitting with me. I really, really appreciate it. Cheers.